Hi, my name is Linda Robles. I am the founder of the Environmental Justice Task Force. We are a nationally and locally recognized nonprofit corporation based here in Tucson, Arizona. We're pretty much committed to just fostering collaboration between organizations committed to environmental, climate, and environmental justice. And today I'm here to tell you a little bit about my story and just kind of go through a presentation with you guys. And I'm going to take you through my journey on PFAS. And we'll start with slide 1. And Dan, how do I change it to slide 2 and 3 since I've already done the introduction?
Just say next slide and Dan will move it on.
Okay, let's go to next slide and next slide. There you go. So we basically serve as a bridge, that brings diverse stakeholders together to drive on-the-ground change. We build healthy, resilient, and sustainable environments through environmental justice frameworks. Next slide. So there, the next slide here. So we also use a collaborative problem-solving model to power sharing to equip residents with the skills and abilities to drive change in their own neighborhoods. As you can see behind at the bottom, there are several of our models that we use through collaboration, problem solving, communication, education, participatory research, and data stewardship. Next slide. Okay, let's see. I had tried to shorten this presentation because I thought I only had like 15 minutes. So this was the long version. So I'll try to go fast with it. So for far too long, the historic drivers of public policy, public decision-making, and data storytelling have been telling our stories. And then here in our community, we're rewriting this story. We elevate community voices using evidence and push for research to result in compliance and solutions. When approached by scientific institutions interested in studying our health and our environment, we have developed strategies to build and sustain partnerships around structure that define fair treatment. Next slide.
Linda, I think we have a misunderstanding. You can have an hour.
Okay.
And you're going to talk about PFAS, right?
Yeah, so that makes me feel a little more comfortable.
Okay, yeah, because we want to hear like why you started, and this family, the story of your family in South Tucson. And assume that's going to be on. You haven't cut all that because of the miscommunication.
Yeah. Okay.
Awesome.
So yes, so this is my PFAS journey, and this is what we're going to go through today. I'm going to tell you guys that story. So that'll go to the next slide. Many people ask me how I became an activist, and this is how it started for me. In 1980, when trichloroethylene was found in multiple public water wells here in Tucson, Southside, for military industries. In 1983, EPA named a 10-square-mile area on Tucson Southside as a national priority listed Superfund site, calling for cleanup of TCE. From 2012 to 2013, low mixtures of PFOA and PFOS, which are two types of PFAS, were detected in multiple public water wells, in addition to the TCE issues that our community was already dealing with. In 2014, I set up the Environmental Justice Task Force to advocate for clean water and justice for our community. Around April 2024, with the National PFAS Contamination Coalition, we won President Biden's first time ever legally be enforced drinking water standards for 6 PFAS. Next slide. In 2017, Tucson water officials finally announced that they had been mistakenly supplying PFAS-tainted water to thousands of residents here in Tucson. Sadly, for this historic Hispanic American Southside neighborhood, already contaminated with TCE for 4 decades, now face another environmental health crisis from widespread PFAS. pollution in our community. Despite the severe physical and mental health consequences, regulatory enforcement remain weak and corporate accountability scarce. Next slide, please. In 2023, the Arizona Department of Environmental Quality confirmed there are PFAS in at least 57 public drinking water systems in our state. I also added some, like newspaper articles and stuff like that onto these slides so that you can see where I'm getting my information. Next slide, please. So many of you might be asking, so what are PFAS? PFAS are per and polyfluoroalkyl substances. They are a large class of over 14,000 fluorinated organic chemicals. PFAS are widely used chemicals that persist in the environment and bioaccumulate in humans and animals, becoming an increasing cause for global concern. Some PFAS are known to cause kidney, liver, thyroid, testicular cancer, high cholesterol, and suppression of vaccine response effectiveness in children. Many people ask, why are PFAS so important? Well, the scientific community is currently evolving its understanding on PFAS in the environment. Next slide, please. I personally lost a daughter, my 19-year-old daughter, Tiana, to kidney cancer in 2007. Another of my family, friends, and neighbors have also come down with cancer and other illnesses in our community. We strongly all believe are linked to the water contamination from the military bases on the south side of Tucson, where I basically grew up, got married, raised my children, and tried to move away. At some point, I moved away from the area into the southwest areas of Tucson, but these chemicals made their way into our drinking water, our actually groundwater supplies, into the new neighborhood. So my children all became very ill. More recently, my youngest daughter, Clarissa, is in her end stages of kidney failure and had to undergo a kidney transplant. Thankfully for my daughter Paula, that transplant was successful. Also, with the help of the it was the first robotic kidney transplant in history, especially in Arizona. So there's been a lot of news on that, and there's been a lot of attention on it. But that's just a big concern for us. But there's hope with Paula for my daughter Clarissa. Well, for many of these reasons and more, I formed the Environmental Justice Task Force to push for PFAS regulatory enforcement and to hold EPA, the Department of Defense, and state and corporations accountable for causing all these injuries to our families. Next slide, please. Here are a few pictures. This is my daughter, Tiana, and her daughter, who she left behind. She was 5 years old when her mom died. She had to grow up without a mother. She, thankfully, she joined the Navy after she graduated the high school and joined the Navy and went to do her mission. Here's a photo of my daughter, Paula, here in Clarissa. This is Clarissa. And this is my daughter Paula, who gave her kidney for her sister. And that sometimes it's still very hard for me to talk about this stuff, but I try my best. Well, just shows how important it is for us to protect our environment. Next slide, please. Our organization has engaged in popular epidemiology in which we mobilize exposed citizens to link their health problems to toxic exposures. In 2016, we conducted a series of health surveys around the Tucson southside that revealed high cancer rates and autoimmune diseases near the Arizona Air National Guard base, where most of the PFAS sources are located, also around the Davis Mountain Air Force area. Next slide, please. We've also used the availability of the internet to be more actively involved in pollution monitoring and doing a lot of studies. While we do all these studies, we use a lot of internet, and we create our own house studies, because we have found that most of the federal governmental databases are always underestimating the problems, especially around these underserved communities. So we basically have done our own and created our own data. On October 18th, I served as a community perspective member on the President Biden's EPA PFAS Council, highlighting how underserved communities have suffered from PFAS in their water, air, and land, not just only here in Tucson, but around the world. Next slide, please. As you can only imagine, we have faced many uphill environmental justice battles against very powerful industries, including DuPont, the Department of Defense, and state regulators to prove our cases of toxic exposure. Next slide. In 2024, we won President Biden's EPA first time ever legally enforced drinking water standards for PFAS, for 6 PFAS near zero maximum contaminant levels. However, for instance, talking about those battles, we've also, the Trump new administration has challenged, has taken administrative and legal actions to vacate the Biden PFAS rule. Currently, our organization and other community advocates have opposed the rollbacks and to defend the EPA's PFAS drinking water standards in court. And we have also sued the FDA to set PFAS limits in food. Next. We have also traveled to I have also traveled to Washington, D.C. many times to meet with the White House members, EPA, over several issues, not just PFAS issues, but also on the TCE ban and PFAS enforcement. We also have met with our state representatives to educate them on PFAS issues in our state and to hold them accountable for our peoples. Many times I've met with Mark Kelly, and there are pictures on the next slide. Some articles there that were also out, that have come out on our trips in DC. Next slide, please. As you can see there, here we are in this photo. We are with the White House, the White House Council, and our organization, the National PFAS Contamination Coalition, all these members here. And here I am with my granddaughter, Destiny, and Mark Kelly, our state senator. That was around 2024 when EPA announced that they had finalized the PFAS drinking water rule. Next slide. Oh boy, in 2019, with the University of Arizona Public Health, we developed the Toxic Detective Summer Youth Program for middle school students to learn more about environmental health issues in Tucson, in the Tucson area, which was a big win for us and for our community. I strongly believe that we need to start educating our youth groups and involving them and including them in the work that we do. They are our next generation, and they are going to be our voice for the future. Next slide. Here are some photos of myself and the students. I've gone to every camp every year. I attend these camps, and they just get better and better, and they're growing more and more every year. This started in I think it was 2018, 2019. A little bit after COVID is when we started the program. We started virtual, and then we started once after the COVID pandemic was more controlled, we were able to go in person. So that was a really great experience for us, for my granddaughter, myself, and all these students. Thank you. Next slide. On September 2020, that's supposed to be a 26 there, but on September 2026, I co-hosted with the PJAC. So PJAC are the former President Biden's White House Advisory Council members. Now they're known as PJAC. We co-hosted with them an Arizona People's Hearing, where many people, including here, you can see Adelita Grijalva. This is all the PJAC members. Many of our supporters here are Arizona team members, supported this effort as well. We had Navajo people coming from the Navajos. We had people from all over the region who came to this event, and there was a lot of discussion on, data centers, mining, concerns about mining, and all those types of things. We heard so many sad stories, many of them like our story. Since then, also, we've had a member from the University of Arizona who attended this conference who passed away after that, died of cancer. And also, if you recall, our own Senator Raul Grijalva also passed away from lung cancer here in Tucson. So Adelita Grijalva has stepped up and has recently I can't remember that exact word, but she has actually resubmitted the Environmental Justice for All bill to Congress, which is also another great win for us and victory. Next slide, please.
I did want to take 1 second, Linda, to clarify that was September 2025 at the...
No, so it was September 2026. Was it 2025? It was 2025.
Yeah, it was 2025.
Yeah, you're right.
Yep, at the DoubleTree Hotel at the Convention Center, and it was a great event for people who were able to go. We really just loved hearing all those stories. So, okay, I just want to make sure that was clear before you move on.
Yes, okay, thank you. Yeah, I did try to fix that. Okay, next slide, please. Yes, and that hearing, we had Jan and Dan come out there. They were there, and we invited them, and we were so happy that they attended. And you guys also got to speak, right, Dan?
Yep, Jana did.
Okay, great. Influencing our community has been such an honor for me. For me, it's been more than just an opportunity to create change in my community, but more an honor for me because, as a result of all this community pressure and all the work that we've done here, Arizona has set some of the strictest standards on PFAS in drinking water and industrial waste practices here in Arizona as well. More recently, the state of Arizona, like I told you earlier, the state of Arizona Representative Adelita Grijalva has reintroduced the Environmental Justice for All bill, one that her father had, our late Raul Grijalva had began back in 2017. Also in March 2022, our city and state officials gave $3.3 million to the Central Tucson PFAS project, which built a demonstration treatment system to mitigate groundwater contamination issues near the Davis-Mountain Air Force Base. Also during that time, Dan and ourselves also met with the Department of Defense and did a walkthrough to that. We took a tour to the Central Tucson project demonstration treatment facility to see how it works, and to see how it works and whether it's working or not, and just to get a better understanding of it. And next slide, please. So even though my journey began in a place filled with overwhelming physical, emotional suffering, so much emotional suffering, as my family faced one tragedy after another, I refused to stay silent. I finally found the courage to just step outside of my comfort zone and embrace a new way of understanding life in a permanently polluted world. Somehow, thinking in the emotion of the moment, I had the strength to change my story, my own story. Prior to all of this, I knew nothing, and I moved away from the issues. I tried to run away from the problem. I didn't even want to hear about it. It wasn't until my children started getting sick, and after the death of my daughter, that I knew I had to do something about it. The need for a healthier community is emphasized particularly while my daughter Clara faces her end stages of kidney failure, but there is hope to Paula. Next slide, please. I learned that when people change, so do places change, and so do situations change. Because I changed, so did my community change. Next slide. And I will end my next slide with, yes, the road was long, but it was my suffering, and in my suffering where I learned to be obedient to my calling and gain my greater trust in God. I will close with making my last announcement. Next slide, please. So if many of you know about this or not, or if you've heard about it, I will be co-hosting the next PFAS conference here in National PFAS Conference here in Tucson, Arizona, around June 8th, between June 8th and the 10th. And I would love to see you guys all come up there, and we are taking registrations. You can apply for support, travel support, and here is the website where you can. I don't know if I could cut and paste it and put it here on the chat, but I would be nice for you to also, if you can please share it with your networks and help us spread the word. And again, I also want to thank all of you for giving me this opportunity to meet with you guys today and educate you a little bit and share my story with you in hopes for a better future for all of us. Thank you. Thank you, Dan.
Dan, can you put her on the screen now? I'd love to see Linda, because I haven't been seeing her during this, because what pops up on my screen is where the volume is.
She's on her phone. And oops, actually there's a typo in that. Let me retype that for that URL I just put in. Hold on. But thank you so much, Linda. That was just inspiring as always. And I always am motivated by your story, and I'm so sorry about all the things you went through, but you took strength from it. And that is just such an amazing thing.
Dan, can you put her on the screen now? Can you take the...
I'll take the slides down, but yeah, I mean...
so we can see. Thank you so much, Linda. That was so inspiring. Do you have... Why do I still not see her?
Because she's on her phone. She's not on the camera.
She was on the camera earlier. Okay. Well, anyway, I guess we're seeing everybody else. But anyway, I think everybody was really moved by what you shared, and we appreciate your strength in sharing it with us tonight, and also your strength in, fighting the good fight. I wish we all could have that kind of strength. Will you take questions?
Absolutely. I'm open to any questions if you like. I have a few minutes left here for all you guys.
So I do see Linda now. I put it on the view that shows everybody on it. If you look at your more options, adjust views, you can pick tiled and you can see Linda. Okay.
Yeah, go ahead and if you have any questions, Jan, you can just address it. And because I could hear you guys and speak to it through my phone. I can't do it through my computer.
Right. Anybody have any questions or any comments for Linda?
I do. This is Wanda. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, I can hear you, Wanda.
Yeah, I can barely talk, Linda. I've just been in tears. That is one of the most awful things I've ever heard hit a family. I feel sad. I feel so angry. You said that you finally found a way to transform your suffering into action. And I'd like to hear a little bit more about that, because there are so many people around me who are suffering and struggling, and a lot of people have just given up. They've lost the will to act. So if you could talk a little bit more about that, I would appreciate it.
Sure. Well, it wasn't easy. I'll tell you, it wasn't easy. When after I lost my daughter, I became very, very depressed, and I found myself in a very, very dark place. Finally, maybe 5 years later, after one bad thing after the other, I finally said, no more. I surrendered my life to God. That's exactly what I did. I surrendered my life to God, and it was, I had to go into treatment, a church. It was a Christian-based treatment facility. I'm currently actually part of this church because of what they did for me, and what God did with me during the time I was in the church. This was not just an ordinary church. This was called the Church on the Street. The people who entered this program were prostitutes. They were former addicts. They were people with mental health problems, people that were depressed and had been through stuff like I had been. And there, I surrendered my life to God, and my entire life changed. My life was transformed there. And this is when my pastor said to me, I know it was, I believe that God can speak to people. And my pastor said, I don't know who it is and I don't know who you are, but God is telling me to tell you to go back, stop running, and go back to your community and deal with the problems. And I knew what he was talking about, and that's when God ministered to my heart to go back to my community, stop running from my problems, stop pity-partying about them, and start doing something about it. And that's what I did.
Wow.
God gave me the strength. I got my life back.
That's a beautiful story, Linda. Can you tell us a little bit about how you reached out to your community?
Yes, you know how it actually started for me is that my husband, he told me, during the time when my daughter died and I was in treatment, I had also gone through a divorce, and I since then remarried to a man of God. But that's the man that told me, you need to go back and find out what happened to your kids. He also grew up in the South Side, and his mom happens to still live there in the South Side, so we ended up living with her for a short period while we were getting our life together. And I noticed that everybody in her street on Santa Paula and 12th Avenue were dying of cancer. Most of them were my age. And what they were doing was calling me and my husband for prayer, for prayer and to pray for their loved ones while they were still alive before they even died, because they trusted my husband as a man of God. They would call him to, pray for them and stuff. And that's when I started noticing that there was a lot of people in that street dying of cancer. And that's when my husband said, you know what, we should start going door to door and start talking to people. And that's what we started doing. We just started going door to door. And I'm telling you, it happened probably within a year. Within a whole year, we started first across the street from the airport. Then we went to we went through every community you can imagine within the Plume area. We had to do a lot of research first to know where the maps were and where the more contaminated areas were. And we started hitting those streets. And people were sharing their stories. They were happy to provide their health information. I still have it. See, if this thing on my wall here, all of these are just some of the reports and surveys that we picked up from community members. We found clusters of cancer that were being ignored. Nothing was being done. So when I heard, and I heard the stories of these people, it only took me a minute to sit with the long-lived resident before they started listing all the people and their families and neighbors that were sick with cancer or had died of cancer. And I called the EPA. I started calling all, Tucson Water, all health officials, demanding that they do something about it and that something be done about it. First, they were ignoring me. They didn't want to hear it, but my movement started growing so fast. I mean, they could not ignore us. We're talking a whole ballroom. I was filling up ballrooms of people that wanted to come and hear about the problem. And when they heard that I was talking at this meeting or that meeting, they'd fill it up. So we had thousands and thousands of people supporting my movement, and we grew really fast, and they just couldn't ignore us. That's how we did it.
Well, that's wonderful. I remember, the earlier meetings, and Nita being there too, because she had lived on the south side, and she still suffers from, like, if she breathes in like dioxin, like in somebody's like deodorant or something, she has stroke-like symptoms. But I might not have heard this carefully enough, and if you spoke about this already, I'm sorry, but I remember that there was a conference and that you were asking for some help with, like, people paying for people's medical bills, and and that there were issues with people moving away and not being able to tell who had been impacted. Did you ever get any? Where did that go? So during that time, around 2007, dioxin had also been discovered in our water. So when I started the Environmental Justice Task Force in 2014, I had found out about dioxin in our water. And I started questioning about those chemicals as well. But I already also knew about PFAS. So it was kind of like they were the unregulated chemicals that were new chemicals that were found in our water. So what I started doing is I started the health surveys that I'm talking about. We started not only knocking on doors, but the word of mouth got around. And then it hit the newspaper. And when it hit the newspaper, people from all over the world that used to live on the south side even got word on this. And they started requesting for the health surveys, and we would send it to them, and then they would send it back to us filled out. We got over 5,000 health surveys we got back from people that live local, people that live away, that grew up in the south side and then moved away later and got sick later.
But definitely, yes, we did. And also, we also help people fill out formal complaints against the Department of Defense to complain to them about their health problems. But most of those complaints, the Department of Defense, including mine, wrote back to us stating that they had nothing to do with our health problems and that the water was safe. So in other words, they denied the claims. And we've been fighting them since.
I'm sorry.
But they can't fight me no more. You know, they can't fight me no more because now where I am and the knowledge that I have and the advancement in my work, it's very hard for anybody to argue with me about it anymore. I mean, it's now the truth. The truth has come out, you know, and we have also filed a lot of lawsuits and complaints against DuPont, against the Department of Justice, you know, and all the people involved in the PFAS issue. We took it all the way to the White House. We took it all the way to Capitol Hill.
Well, I thank you so much for your fight. I feel so bad for the people in South Tucson. It's like they're near the plant, you know, and they've been suffering from, you know, the coal first, you know, and, you know, just everything that can happens, you know, in that area, you know. So yeah. I appreciate that there's somebody that you've been a champion for this.
Yeah.
Does anybody else have any more questions on this, or?
There is a question in the chat. Mary had asked, Linda, would you say the water flowing in South Tucson is reliably clean at this point?
No, not at all. South Tucson is also affected by PFAS, but it's not only PFAS, but also TCE. So the plume itself is very large. It's like a 30 square mile area, 5 mile wide to 30 square mile area. So a lot of that PFAS plume made it to parts of South Tucson and the Tucson south side. So there's like 3 different districts. And the chemicals also got under the groundwater within the Midvale area where I bought my house. But a very small area of Midvale and a smaller area of, it's just the way it runs and the way the groundwater underneath us, the geographic way of the way it works under there and the way it flows. But it's just a weird looking plume underneath us. But yeah, part of that plume and some pieces of that plume have also affected South Tucson, the South Tucson area.
But I should say on behalf of Tucson Water is that they did shut down the wells there, and there's a whole treatment plant to treat these, right, Dan? Do you want to say anything about that?
I know Linda's familiar with that. Yeah, there's the TARP, which treats that Tucson airport area, and so that water's not being served. Although for a while it was, and that was one of the things you pointed out, Linda, is that they were cleaning 2 of the contaminants out, but they weren't doing anything about PFAS because they didn't know it was there until they tested for it. So that was part of that being served for a while.
Yes. So it's not like really nobody's fault, because what happened is that PFAS had been unregulated for many, many decades. Since the 1990s, EPA has known about PFAS and has known the dangers of PFAS. However, they have lacked to regulate PFAS. And it wasn't until around 2013 and after 2009 that PFAS became more of a concern. And around 2013, 2014, during the MCR, what we call MCR 3 period, that's when they found PFAS here in Tucson and many wells here in Tucson. It was part of a nationwide drinking water testing period. And they found these chemicals within the TARP area, which was a treatment plant that was built in 1994 under Superfund to clean up the TCE contamination. So it had no capacity to remove PFAS. So a new one had to be built. And the same with dioxin. And what they do, meanwhile, they are building these facilities is the water company blends good water with bad water to keep those levels low. But that's not the solution. The dilution in water is not the solution. The solution is stopping them at the source. What we mean by that is regulating them and keeping them out of our water in the first place.
So Alicia has a question. Does the Superfund cover the entire area that is affected, or is it lacking in its reach?
It's lacking. It only covers like a 5 mile, 10, I think what it covers is a 10 square mile area out of a 30 square mile area. So basically it's only covering the side of the tart plume, which they call the main plume. So they only go up to 5 mile radius. They don't go any further than that. So that's as far as they go with studying, and that's as far as they go with monitoring and covering it under Superfund.
So this is kind of a bummer. So I want to share something positive that's happening. So Dan and I have, we lead the environmental advocacy email list, and at the state legislature, I know Sandy Barr from the Sierra Club has been fighting. There was a bill that made it illegal for using these foams that cause the PFAS in training, and she and others fought for it to be that you can't use that foam at all, that firefighting foam at all anymore. Right. So that's a bill that bill is like right now, I think it's gone through both houses at the state legislature and is just waiting for the governors to sign that. But right now she's not signing any bills until they get their budget. but anyway, she's pretty sure she'll sign that. So that's good news for all of us. Can we take that as a win, Linda?
Yes, because we fought really hard to get aqueous. Where the chemical she's talking about is known as aqueous film forming foam, short AFFF, which was the foam that the Department of Defense started using during the 1960s to turn off fires. And so PFAS, AFFF, have been used in many military bases for decades. And these chemicals were, they were being sprayed. They made it into the water system. But yes, the fact that now there are more bills, and there's a lot of bans going on in other states as well, where they have banned AFFF from their states. And we're hoping that our state does the same.
I'm pretty sure that they will. I think we just got to get them to pass that budget, and then she'll sign it. No problem. So anyway, for you guys
semiconductor, they are also pushing for that. Then we don't have one here in Tucson. Semiconductors are located in Chandler, Arizona, and there's a lot of organizations, including SHIPS. I'm not sure if you know about them, but they are pushing as well on that issue.
Oh, great. So thank you so much, Linda. I know that you said that you had a certain amount of time, and I want to respect that. So everybody, if you want to thank her or send up a thumbs up or whatever, because we so appreciate.
Thank you, Linda. May your work be blessed and productive.
Thank you all. Thank you all for giving me the opportunity, Jan and Dan. I know you guys are doing some great work on the waterfront, so thank you guys also for your work. And yes, there's always hope through all of us, and especially through you. Thank you.
And thank you, Linda, for everything you do.
So I want to say for you guys, some of you are on the environmental advocacy email. So that was one of the things that we could actually put a thumbs up for. Usually there's a lot of bad water bills at the state legislature. And so we push back on those with the request to speak system. And so if you haven't already, if you want to be on the email list, Dan actually reads through all the bills from the Sierra Club that they have all the environmental bills and bills fighting our democracy. And so Dan reads through them, and we send out a request to speak list of the bills. And this is the one way we can push back on the bad bills and support the good ones, like the one that I mentioned. So so you can just respond to my email, or if you heard about it some other way, I'm Jana at sustainabletucson.org. So anyway, let's see. Somebody wants to join. Interesting. Wow, she just missed the presentation. Hi, Sue. You just missed Linda's presentation. But anyway, we would like to share what happened we were invited to do the water track at Sustainable Tucson's Renew Summit. And so we'd like to talk about it. I think Brenda was there, Alicia was there, Dan and I were there. I counted that there were like 8 students that first day of the summit, and 5 of them came and listened to our presentations on water. So that made me feel good. And some of them stayed to brainstorm different things like priorities of water. Dan, do you have any way to put up on the screen? I sent you, if you're on my email list, I sent it. You can also open your email from me and see that. I don't know if somebody is better at talking about the process that they did. Maybe Dan is. Maybe Dan, can you do a brief description of what the process is that we did for this?
Sure. Yep.
I'm
trying to get this. Can you see that okay? It keeps wanting to, even though I'm not sharing everything, it keeps wanting to switch over to picture-in-picture. But anyway.
You might want to put it on spotlight view. If you look at push the 3 dots at the bottom of your screen, and it says adjust view, you might want to put it on spotlight view, then it will be bigger.
Yep.
I don't know if you can make it any bigger.
I will. I'll zoom in some, but so it was a 2-day process. There are actually a few people that are here that were actually a part of that. Like I see Alicia, I see you there. We were asked to pull together all of these different ideas. So there were actually initially 6 tracks of different focus areas of helping to make Tucson more sustainable. The water was one of those. And so we broke out into these working groups. And essentially, this was the first day. This was like brainstorming different ideas. And so we were answering this prompt. And let me zoom in on the prompt so you can see that, which was creative and practical ideas to increase the scale of productive investment in the water sector, both in the short and long term, which is a mouthful. But essentially, it was like looking at, what are things that we can do to try to make Tucson more water sustainable. So that was kind of, the short version of this really rather long prompt. And so what came out of that is, everyone was asked to brainstorm some ideas, and then we gathered them and grouped them and do, that thing that you tend to do when you do these guided brainstorming sessions. And so we came up with these different categories of things that we could do. One was creating a water-wise community through education. And you can see here are some of the examples, like youth education programs or guidelines for efficient living, or educate and market sustainable living to newcomers, or increasing water conservation education for newcomers. You see a little theme going on there. And some of the other ones, I'm not going to try and read all of these, but we also had legislating smart water usage. So a lot of those were things like, bans on decorative turf or incentives for rainwater collection, which a lot of these things we're already doing in Tucson, actually. And then, of course, there's prioritizing and valuing water. again, there's a little overlap between some of these things, but that was like, incentives for low water users, connecting value. So essentially trying to use our water in the most productive manner and reducing the waste as much as possible. And then also we had an augmenting water supply grouping, which was ways that we can produce more water to supplement just what we get in terms of rainfall. And so there are a few ideas in here, some of which are maybe better than others, and a lot of which are actually happening already. So like the ion exchange, Linda just talked about the PFAS treatment at the TARP plant, what they are doing to be able to ensure they get all of that PFAS out. They're kind of using this process right now with these little plastic beads that the PFAS sticks to. That's what they were doing at that demonstration site that Linda and I both attended, went to see the tour of. And it's really inefficient because the beads don't last very long, and then they have to empty the whole tank out, and they go and take all of that and put it into a toxic waste dump. And so it's not the best way to do it. This ion exchange is actually going to clean that PFAS out without having this waste stream that it generates. And so that's one of the things they're doing to try and get the PFAS out of the water we currently can't use. There's also the water purification, something I know people get touchy about. That's the toilet to tap, where essentially you're treating effluent, aka sewer water, to a really high drinking standard. It's actually cleaner than normal drinking water. And so that's one of the things they're doing. And then just some other things as well, like, ag to urban, which is essentially prioritizing only high value, low water use crops along the Colorado River, not here in Tucson or Chandler or whatever. And of course, rainwater, gray water used everywhere, and ways to reuse clean water and reduce waste and recover underflow. The idea there is to recover some of the water that flows out of the basin. Not really a very simple thing to do, but this was a brainstorming thing. And then also ensuring water for the environment, which was more green stormwater infrastructure, more water harvesting, making sure that all of the city departments are doing proper landscaping and basins. So a lot of these things are actually things that are being done now. So that was the first day. Did you want me to go to the second day, or do you want to talk some more about that, Jana?
Yeah, I think you're doing good.
Okay. So go to the second day. So, and this was the presentation. So this was one of our students that was in the water track, and we kept nominating him to be our presenter. So there he is talking about what we came up with for our statement out of the water. We did decide to focus on education. So that was what our final focus was. And let's see, you're going to see all these pictures I took. Maybe I should stop sharing for a second so I can find the right one.
Let me see what, yeah, we actually had to first there was a vote between the augmentation section and the education section, and the education section won by one vote. In the end, after that, creating a water-wise community was the second day, was our priority to look at that. So let's see if Dan has the right.
I do. So let me show you what we had for the next one.
So while he's doing that, I just say that that is, Dan and I know what Sustainable Tucson is, and educating is right in the wheelhouse of Sustainable Tucson. So working on that, so working in the water committee would be a real benefit to Sustainable Tucson. And so they actually asked for volunteers during that last, presentation, and each of the different, 6 tracks had somebody, they said, does anybody want to step up and champion them? And I said that we could present it to the water committee to see if they would want to work on that. So that's what we're doing here tonight to discuss that. Let's see what Dan has.
Yep. Okay, so this was day 2, and these were, remember that we had decided that the biggest impact, something we could actually do, because you notice some of those things like water augmentation, that's a utility scale thing. We could advocate for it a little bit, but really it's something that Tucson Water is going to do, or, you know, ADWR, Arizona Department of Water Resources, or somebody like that's going to do. So we thought that something we could actually do was focusing on the education. So that was the one we took forward to the second day. And so this time the prompt was the key strategic directions needed to implement this priority in the water sector are creating a water-wise community through education. And so these were some of the ideas we came up with on that. One was informing the public through dynamic marketing and web resources. You probably heard Jana talk a lot of times about the Love My Rain Basin hashtag campaign, where you basically take a picture of a rain basin that you have or a rain basin that you love, and you tag it with Love My Rain Basin, and then share it on whatever social medias you're on. There's also, we thought of a web portal of water info. There's a lot of info out there, but the thing I've discovered as I'm talking to people about water issues, and you kind of heard a little bit from Linda in her presentation, is, there are all these various maps, and it's hard to bring those together into a single place. So one of the things we were thinking of is there's really a need to have a web portal of water info. That could also be part of a myth busting campaign, because there are a lot of things that people think are happening or not happening that, they just don't have access to the information to be able to figure out what's really happening. So those kind of went together. This was an idea that we had with the water committee a number of years ago and hadn't really moved forward. So if somebody wants to work on this, it would be a great thing to help to just let newcomers to our area, to the Sonoran Desert, know what it's like to be sustainable here. They may be coming from Oregon, or they may be coming from Northern California, or they may be coming from the Midwest. And so they are coming from a different environment. And so it would be really useful to have something they can refer to understand what it means to live in the Sonoran Desert, and also where they can go, who they can contact, what organizations they can join to learn more. And
Right.
so that
And
would be another
actually,
thing.
Dan and I were working on a website for a while that we wanted to give to realtors to use as a tool for them when they had welcome packages to refer people to a website, and it was called Desert Living Tucson, a really glossy kind of fun magazine style website that had all of the exciting stories of the things that the people in the water committee, what we love so much, that we do in our yard with our rainwater harvesting and native plants and solar panels, and it's a lovely lifestyle. So we actually have Alicia's here. She's actually a realtor, so I'm going to talk to her further and see if that's something that we could work on together.
There's a love that idea. So glad to hear that, Alicia.
And you can go on, Dan.
Okay. And so some other things were getting the word out. So, mailers. So actually the old school, send out a postcard or a mailer just about ways that you can save water. And of course, Tucson Water does that with Tucson Water residential customers already. So, again, some of these things are already kind of happening. Maybe we can supplement them. Also, social media influencers, there's so many, most people are getting their information from social media now. So, how do we get that out to them in all the various silos of social media everybody is in? And marketing is another thing that came up. If I remember right, that was your idea, Alicia, about how to market that. And we had the Pete the Beak, of course. Yes, outside the bubble, exactly. Pete the Beak, of course, was the really successful campaign from Tucson Water. Everybody still talks about it, even though they haven't done that campaign in probably 2 decades. That something like that would be really useful for getting the word out, because it just caught on so well. A little harder to do today. Not everybody's watching the same television channels or whatever, but there still are something. I think it was just that the icon, that mascot, was so memorable that people still remember the message.
And actually, so the marketing, Sustainable Tucson is an environmental volunteer group. So we have a lot of sweat equity, but to have more expand our marketing, it may cost money. So we might want to collaborate with the water utilities who actually have money
Yep.
So that was the next thing on the list. Dan, you can take that away.
Yep, just collaborating. I mean, one thing we thought was very important, that word kept coming up a lot during the discussion, was collaboration. No organization can operate in a silo and be effective. And so we need to work with the water utilities, especially Tucson Water, but there are also a lot of other regional water utilities, Metro Water. There are a number of water services that are even smaller than that are up in the Oro Valley area. And so, there are opportunities to collaborate with them to be able to educate people on how to be water wise. And of course, things like water audits, which Tucson Water does through their Zanjiro program. I was just talking to Candace Ruprecht on Saturday, and she was talking about how important it was to be able to get those Zanjiros out there. That's a really good community education tool for them, and they need more of them actually. And so, that's something that's an effective tool that maybe has been underutilized. Or bringing Tucson, collaborate with Tucson Water and Metro Water and the other water utilities, trying to get them all to sort of have a more consistent message, which they kind of don't have right now. And there are some other things like creating community through consistent activities and events. And these are just some fun things we thought of that, were things that helped people to focus, to get together. And again, you heard in Linda's presentation how important her reaching out to community and building community. And I've seen that happen. I mean, when she has a get together, she fills a room every time she does it. So she's really good at getting the community out to work on things. And so, we're talking about things like water-oriented books and movie clubs, or peer groups like S4S as Students for Sustainability at the University of Arizona, or the Grand Old Broads, which I know Sue could tell you about if she's still here. So there are a lot of these groups that do things that are parallel to what we do, and so we should definitely encourage some cross communication there. And also some opportunities to really get your hands dirty. One of the things that's kind of missing a lot is hands-on training in water harvesting. That was something Watershed Management Group used to do a lot of, but they've kind of moved away from it. There are some opportunities, but they aren't as widespread as they were before. But there are other people that are doing that. So including like Tucson Clean and Beautiful, and a couple of landscapers that are here in Tucson that bring in community members to help work on their projects. So there are a lot of opportunities there to still try and get people that hands-on training that's so important. And things like, water augmentation workshops, how to be able to use less water and to bring in things like rainwater and stormwater, or community building events. I mean, that was kind of what this event was, the Renew Tucson Summit, but, having more of those kinds of events. Tree planting with rain basins in parks where that's possible. That's something Tucson Clean and Beautiful and Storm to Shade both do. Hosting lunch and learns, inviting the public to, I'm not quite sure what the rest of that is.
Can you make
To
it bigger?
something to water. Yeah, I just can't read the writing that well, but I think that was to water events led by the city and county. Okay, no, I got it. And then we were also thinking, I have some background in education. We have other people that have got education backgrounds. And so, there is probably some value in us as an organization creating curriculum for training in schools, to the public, a lot of things. As people who know me probably know that I'm very passionate about the use of games as a way to get a message across or to educate people. And so I think there's a lot of room for that. I've done ones that are good for younger kids, like, a concentration game that you can match what rain basins are. And of course, you can explain those things as they're playing the game. But there are
Right.
also others that can
Dan,
really make you think about things. Yes.
so you create curriculum and training on water for the public, students, and professionals, because that was
Yep.
one that Alicia really pointed out.
Yeah. And we'll get there. Yeah. I think it's farther down here. So yeah, some games to educate, having stands at events with some education kits, or things that can help to get the message across. I think we had, coloring books, because families with kids love coloring books. And let's face it, a lot of adults love coloring books too. So that's another way to get that out. Some K-12 curricula. There is K-12 curricula that is available, but there's definitely more room for that, especially specific to here in Tucson. So I think that there are things that can be done working with schools like City High, or, suddenly I'm drawing a blank, but I mean, there are a lot of schools, or even our local school here, Arcadia Sky Community School. There are opportunities to work with schools to help teach these things, and having speakers go to the schools or doing presentations with ward offices, neighborhoods. And I think one that was important, let's get down to it, because this is one that Jana was bringing up. A lot of professionals need continuing education units to maintain their certification. So that's something that Alicia pointed out that realtors need to have. Nurses need that, engineers need that, teachers need that. So there are a lot of people that need CEUs. And so, why not work with some of the things like, Pima Community College or other educators to have CEUs that are available for people to take these one-day classes or whatever, and earn those 2 or 3 CEUs for that class that they need to maintain their certification. And of course, also goes right along with combining forces on education, everything from high school to college to adult and career learning. So just a lot
Dan
of
skipped
opportunities.
mine, but
Where did I miss?
Train the group to maintain the GSI. So some of us at the water committee that have been around for a while, we saw how they assign Parks and Rec to maintain the GSI at the ward office, and Parks and Rec took out all the native plants. So I think that they could, if we were trained, maybe they would let other people go in and help them maintain the GSI, which they don't have enough manpower for. But it's a heavy lift. But anyway, it would be great if we could do that. And I know that the longtime water committee members like Catherine, who's not here tonight, would appreciate that. But looking at this group, can you scroll up again, Dan? So I was really thinking like this, creating a curriculum is something that we've got a lot of expertise in our group. We've got docents of watershed management group. We've got Dan, who's also a docent and a rainwater harvesting practitioner and keeps up with all kinds of water issues. And I think a lot of enthusiastic people. And now hopefully Alicia is going to join us, and she's an expert on like working with realtors, and she seems to have like a professional view that will extend our possibilities. So anyway, we have a few minutes left, and I would love to, if like we could, take this off, unless you guys want to refer back to it, and see, can we, if you go to the 3 dots, you can adjust your view to tiled, which would get everybody back on there for you if you went off of it before. Does any of this excite you guys? I feel like any of you guys, Sue, you've come to a few meetings. I consider you a water committee member now. I know. Did Brenda leave?
Brenda did leave.
Oh, figures. Oh, Brenda's a long time water committee member, and Catherine oddly isn't here tonight, though she's been to every other meeting we've ever had. So when you guys were listening to this, what excited you? What is there something on here that you think we should work on, or that you would like to work on? You can unmute and talk to us. Alicia, let me call on you. Are you still there? Okay. Why don't you talk to us a little bit about the realtor thing, and
Yeah, I'm just so excited to work with you guys and learn from you guys. I come in, humbly, and I want to learn where the priorities are, and then from there we can talk to the different schools that put out the CEU credits in the curriculum and find out how we could get somebody with the credentials to be able to teach the classes and where we can effectively start doing that and get a timeline together. That's really exciting.
Yeah, actually, because I'm really excited to like work with Alicia, because me and Dan, we're working on that um, Desert Living Tucson, website. But unfortunately, we lost some members, we lost our designer, and we kind of lost our steam. So, but, if Alicia's like, it was something that we thought would be a great tool. Like even like if the realtors gave a welcoming pack basket or something to put, in the link, a card about, that website. Or, well, Alicia, you also talked about like you were the one that talked about professional training. You want to tell us a little bit what your idea was about that? Oh no, I'm not hearing you. Oh, now you're having.
Well, just it kind of goes along the same lines. Like, so my husband, he's in radiology. Oh, I might be having bandwidth problems. I can turn my video off, and that might help. Is that better without the video?
We can hear you right now. We can hear you.
Okay, I turned off the video. I think that sometimes it makes it shakier when the video's on. So so my husband's in medical, so he has to maintain his license, and I'm sure there's some smart ways that medical professionals can use water and use CEU credits, like that would be relevant to them. And then same thing for if teachers are having to do a licensing class, why not have it be a fun, like something that they can use? I would definitely want more insight on some of the other professionals and how those CEU credits are given or distributed amongst their people, but also just trying to get involved in different areas, like going into the schools and maybe just doing like a lunch and learn, even if it's not a CEU credit type thing, but bringing the teachers things maybe sponsored by, a realtor or by Tucson Water, or whoever we can get, where we can get that funding to go in and just get in front of different professionals and let them know about what Tucson Water or what we're doing here at Sustainable Tucson, and also give them access to where they can find the information, where they can and that's why it would be so great to have like that web portal to be able to just direct people to all the resources, and then have an event to invite these people to, like just have all these things going so that it's just we're there for a purpose, and we're spreading the word. Like we're really trying to just let people know as well as we can. So yeah, it's all exciting, you guys. This is very exciting, and the workshop, the energy, it was so amazing. So
thank you. Yeah, and some of you guys weren't there. I think Sue was there for a while, and she just raised her hand, and I'll get to that. But I don't know if you're aware, but Pima College now requires sustainability classes, as part, and it's in lots of their classes, and stuff like that. So it's doable. It's doable, So and I feel we have some skills. There's, like I said, many of the water committee members are, docents at Watershed Management Group. Dan's the chair of the Commission for Climate, Energy, and Sustainability, and he's great at researching things. I know Sue has her own thing. Sue, tell us the name of your organization and what you do in that. And then
you mean Great Old Broads? Great Old Broads?
Yeah. Oh, it's like you're always doing actions.
Oh, okay. We don't like focus just on water, but it's Great Old Broads for Wilderness. Tucson, and it's a national senior women's environmental organization. And it was founded in 1989, and there's 44 chapters in a bunch of different states. And we have a strong chapter here. But, you know, water, I mean, water, mining issues, public lands, the border wall, those are pretty much our mission issues in the Tucson chapter. So, can I ask the question I was going to ask?
Yeah, yes, please.
Okay. Well, I mean, you're talking about curriculum, which is really important, not just for kids of all ages to learn about what the limits of the resources in this region, you know, particularly water. But I like the fact that kids learn stuff in school and then they go home and shame their parents, you know? Like if their parents are taking 2-hour showers, the kid will say, "Mommy, I just learned that you're only supposed to take a shower for 10 minutes," or so, you know, something like that. But I think my question would be, has anyone that you're working with actually gone to the Tucson School District and found out on a grade to grade basis what already exists in terms of curriculum for water instruction? I think that would be a good baseline to start with, if we don't already have that.
Yeah, I know we have the Smartscape goes into it. What is Alicia's holding up something? Not so close.
She just
shorter
reminded
shower.
my
Shorter
kids
shower.
brought this home. It's from
I
the
love
Oro
it.
Valley, and it's like a timer. But my kids brought this home. They had a water event at their school. They go to school in Oro Valley, and they brought this home, and they were excited about it, and so yeah, we definitely want to collaborate with what the water companies are already doing, so we're not reinventing the wheel as far as curriculum goes, not only for K through 12, but also, you know, build upon that and curate a curriculum for the professionals as well.
Yeah. So yeah, but
Yeah,
you
and
make a
Sue,
good point. Dan will
Yeah.
answer it. Sorry.
I was just going to say there are a couple of things I'm aware of. That doesn't mean that I'm aware of everything they're doing in the schools, but I do know that Project Wet, which is an initiative of Tucson Water, they have people go into mostly elementary and I think middle school classrooms and talk about water, you know, water conservation and the importance of water. And then, of course, there is also some other. There are other material. I mean, there certainly isn't like there aren't any curriculum materials or any educational materials. And I think it is definitely worthwhile. That's one of those things of, you know, making those collaborating with organizations is to talk to school teachers and see, you know, hey, what do you need? And of course, there's also what TUSD is doing is different than what City High School is doing, for example, or what Edge High School is doing. So I think there's room there as well to make those connections and find out where their needs are and where maybe we can help with some of that, and find other organizations that are. I mean, there are a lot of organizations that are doing work here, and that's why we want to try and collaborate instead of just all reinventing the wheel, as Jana was saying.
You mentioned that watershed management has shifted its priorities or in some way. I wasn't sure what you were actually referring to.
It used to be when I first got involved with WMG, what brought me in was working on the co-op projects, which is where you went and you helped install rainwater harvesting or gray water systems at people's houses, and then you earned hours. And good night, Alicia. It was great having you here. Hope to talk to you again soon.
Thank you so much, Alicia. We'll be talking soon.
Yeah, and it is getting pretty much the end of time if people need to duck out. But yeah, to answer your question, Sue, so it used to be the co-op program was sort of the way that you could learn the skills of those hand-on skills of building basins and installing tanks and installing gray water systems. And you also had the advantage of, if you got enough hours that you earned from doing the volunteer work, you could host a workshop at your home and other volunteers would come in to help you put that system in. So it would be cheaper because you'd just be paying for a WMG designer to do the design and then the materials essentially at cost. And that's something that Watershed doesn't do anymore. They moved away from it, mostly because there were a lot of other organizations that were doing, or other contractors who could do rainwater harvesting systems, and so WMG didn't want to compete with them. But I kind of see that there's that community education is missing, and there are some. I mean, WMG still does the schoolyard programs, so they'll still go into schools that want to install like a rain garden, and they will have the kids do a lot of the work and learn how to do that and then care for the plants in the rain garden afterwards. And there are still some community programs that they're doing, typically in conjunction with Tucson Clean and Beautiful or Storm to Shade or other organizations that are bringing in some of the funding for it. But yeah, it's not quite as much the focus on that hands-on education that I'd like to see more opportunities for.
Right. And that was one of the things on my list too, is like one of the issues with the green, do you know what green infrastructure is, Mary and Sue? Green stormwater infrastructure. It's when like there's a cut in the curb, and then you can get like the water runoff from the street to water, some native plants or something. Oh, hi, Mary. It's good to see you. I was wondering what you look like.
I was here.
Anyway, so, but you might have noticed that sometimes they grow weeds, right? And there's some things that are meant to be in it. There's some grasses that are actually meant to be in it, but then there's buffalo grass that gets in it. And when people see this, it's not a good advertisement for, green infrastructure. So they could use some help maintaining it, but they wouldn't probably allow us to do that unless we had like special training to do that. And maybe like that is something that, we could offer, or set up something with Blue Baldwin, who does the green infrastructure, that they could train just community members to do some of this work. Of course, anybody, I do recommend that everybody learn what buffalo grass looks like. and if you see some buffalo grass, just get that out of there.
Grab it.
That's something we can do. The other grasses might be intentional, but if you can recognize buffalo grass, that would be great. But I know a little bit about Sue, but Mary, can you introduce yourself to those few of us that are left?
Well, first I want to thank all of you for the amazing input you gave us tonight. I'm really glad that I'm here and found you, and I'm so glad you came. I met Sue, just for you to know, I met Jana yesterday at the showing of one of the films at the film festival. She spoke before, and it was really great. The film was great too, Desert Passages, which I thought was interesting that it was an Irish take on our local problems here. But anyway, I thought it was very worthwhile. But in any case, my husband and I have been interested in this for more than 30 years. We built 25 years ago a straw bale solar powered off the grid house down in Cochise County, and we worked with the Steens on that, worked with Brad Lancaster about doing our little bit of crop raising in a sustainable way. So we know some of the players, but I had no idea where we are now in the process, and I'm so excited about your involvement and especially the input you're being able to have in some of these committees. So I'm very glad to, be a part of hearing this. I don't have too much time to volunteer at the moment. I just got involved with Literacy Connects. So I just want the kids to be able to read what you put out. So anyway, I'm working on that awfully feverishly now, but Thanks for all you're doing. It's fabulous stuff.
Oh,
Yep.
thank
And that's a
you.
good opportunity for collaborating there with Literacy Connects because of the great
Right.
work you do with reading. I mean, I'm sure
Yeah.
that we can
Especially if
help
you come up
to
with-
curate a reading list that would be something that would be worthwhile from a water standpoint. And yeah, I
Yes,
mean,
that'd be great.
yeah, and get people to come in and I mean, I don't know exactly the approach because I know there are different age appropriate approaches that Literacy Connects
Mhm.
takes, but I mean, yeah, a story time or something like that. If we could get some volunteers to come in and do that, that would probably be
Yeah,
very
it's a
useful
great
too.
idea. All those collaboration ideas are just terrific.
But I really appreciate you two coming and staying and discussing a little longer with us. And just to let you know, so right now we've gone to like the end of the presentations we already have lined up. So if there's something in particular that you'd like to hear, but in the meantime, me and Dan will brainstorm and call some of the other members that are the regular members of the water committee to see what presentations we'll have. Like it's the last Monday of every month. And I think sometimes when somebody, I mean, Sue, you mentioned that, water wasn't, your organization's main thing, that sometimes people feel like they don't have enough education to do anything. So that's one of the reasons we like to have the presentations once a month. So now we all know about PFAS, for instance.
Yeah.
So anyway, so hopefully we'll have
Sorry,
some more
I'm
present.
really sorry I missed that, but I was having trouble with the Google Meet thing. I don't know what was going
Oh,
on.
sorry. So was you had time too, because Linda had a hard time getting on for some bizarre reason. So but she actually persevered. She actually called in, so her picture was on the phone, I guess. I don't know. She was on two different things. Her picture was in one thing, maybe her computer, and her voice was on her phone. But we got through it, and Dan had her slideshow. But I think Dan recorded it.
I
I was
did, so
wondering
we
if
will
you
be
did, and
posting
if
it.
you could see that, because it was great, Sue.
Hmm.
Yep. Yeah, I did. It'll be posted soon. I'll just
With
edit
the
it a little
slides,
bit and
yeah.
get it up. Yep.
So speaking of water, there's just one little factoid I learned recently. There's going to be a protest on the 29th at 400 West Congress from Save the Scenic Santa Rita's against Governor Hobbs not signing or not banning the auctioning of the land to the Hudbay Mining Company, which she had ample opportunity to do. And the majority of the people that weighed in begged her, please, put the kibosh on this, don't sign it. But it looks like it's going through. And so they're going to have this in-person protest, which I'm planning to attend. But I found out that out of all the projected factoids that Save the Scenic and other organizations have put out, that they're projecting that they're going to use 17 billion gallons of water from the aquifer for this mine.
17 billion.
Yep.
That was gallons. I'm going to write that down.
Mm.
Because actually I put out a action on social media, and I need to send that out through my environmental advocacy email list as well. So I will do that. Thank you for the reminder, Sue. So hopefully there's people who like the request to speak thing, might not be their thing, to go on the app and, weigh in on those. But some people like to stand with a sign on the street. So we love them too. So and we love all the work you do. So.
I'll stand there with the sign until I keel over, I guess.
We'll just prop
might
you
have
and your
to.
sign up.
I'll be begging, bring me some
Wait.
water.
Bring water. Bring water.
Yeah. And Sue, do you
have
know
water
if
to drink.
was that number annual or was that total lifetime usage?
I now you got me on the spot, so don't quote me on that number, but I put it into my letter to Hobbs.
Yeah.
I did mention that in my letter to Hobbs.
Well, if you want to send me that, because my call to action is really that I put on even my website blog is really short. So if you have something, a little blurb that makes it seem more important than what I have on there from, feel free
I
to
should just keep my
send that to
mouth
me.
shut, because every time I quote something, they say, where's the source? And it's like, then I can't find it. So,
Well, if you find
well,
it, I will.
we
How
will
about
look
I
it up.
send that out
But
tomorrow?
you can look, I mean, you mentioned it, so it could be looked up now. This is great.
yeah, it's somewhere. I don't know.
Yeah.
I got
Yeah,
too much
the-
going on. Too much.
Yeah, I think that's probably a
Over the
10-year
lifetime
figure.
of the mine, I would imagine.
Yeah.
It's projected, yeah.
Yeah, because it's looking at, and of course also, these are projections that are coming from those. HUD Bay has not been the best actor. If you went to the WRRC conference or watched it, you saw a number of the mining companies saying, well, we're much more responsible, and this is the way that we're treating the water and we're recharging it. But
We're so
I
green.
still
We're
have,
so green.
yeah, I still have, and well, the problem is we do actually need copper. So I mean, I get that. It's like we want to electrify, and you need a lot of copper to electrify, but at the same time, we can't be basically poisoning the aquifer that Tucson uses
Yeah.
to do it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
that's where it's really, everything is gray. It's really hard to find a black and white
Yeah.
answer.
Well, it's all
But-
great.
I think somebody
when
made
they're
the point
done,
that
they leave.
if we take all the pennies, which are going to be
that have been taken out of
getting
circulation.
rid of pennies, if we take all the pennies that people don't want anymore and put them all together, there's more than enough for a mine. It's more than what a mine can pull out.
I love that idea, but I don't
good.
know.
Yeah,
I don't know if
that's
it's true, but let's
I like that.
actually, and I don't think that we recycle enough for those kinds of things that they keep mining for. So
I know, Dre. I mean, she's much more adept at this, all these little factoids than I am, and she has all kinds of alternatives to copper, to mining the copper the way it's being mined right now. So,
Yep.
Yeah,
there are some. Well, in fact, they're doing that. That was one. I mean, I know this is a little sidebar, but at the WRC, there is one that's out in Cochise County, I think, actually, and oh no, it's up in oh shoot, where the prison is. Why am I drawing a blank on the name of that town? Florence, yeah. There is a mine in Florence that you wouldn't know was a mine if you looked at it, because it's just like a few pipes sticking out of the ground. And what they're doing is they are doing essentially electrolysis. So they inject this water in there. They charge it. It collects the solution they're putting in there, collects the copper ions, then they bring it back out and separate them back out. And so of course, you can't do that everywhere, but it just so happens that this is kind of like loose copper that's in this area. So they're able to just pull it out that way without digging a hole, without using a lot of water. They're able to keep recirculating the fluid. So it was kind of an interesting thing. It was like a very super low impact copper mine, unlike Copper World. But yeah,
because I feel like some of the mining companies are trying to use less water or reuse the same water over and over again, and so some are better than the other. But yeah, the Rosemont mine people, HUD Bay, they're famous for leaving behind toxins and destroying towns. So
they don't care. They come, they dig, they leave.
Right.
Yep.
But that's something that I need to advocate for, is them being responsible, and there are groups that do that they make sure that the mines follow the rules. What's Anna's group? What is that called, Dan? It's kind of out of what's that place? Patagonia. But they actually
you're talking about Save the St.
the
San Ritos,
Patagonia
right?
Resource
Or Patagonia Area Resource Council. Park.
That's the one. Yeah.
What's
So
the name of that one?
Say it again.
PARA, actually, Patagonia
Area Resource Association.
Yes,
Right.
Perfect.
So, I mean, we do need some minerals and stuff, and this is what Arizona is founded on. But there's certain places where, like the Sky Islands, where it's the most diverse area, when we're now having losing habitat and losing and things become animals becoming extinct, that we need some places that you don't mind, you know.
Yeah.
But anyway, I don't know what to do, but at least like do it the best you. If we can't stop them, maybe we can have them do it the most sustainable that they can. So anyway, that's enough of that.
Well,
You
thank
guys
you.
stayed extra, so because we were supposed to go till 8:30, and it was nice talking to you and getting
It
to know
was.
you a little bit. I hope to see you next month, and when Dan and I decide, we were
Figure out
hoping
what
to
we're
have a
gonna
little
do.
time to talk and see what people wanted to talk about. Our past presentations were on rainwater harvesting. Dad did one on, you know, generally the history of water in Arizona already. Catherine, who's not here tonight, did one on how she uses her water in her home, even to flush her toilet and for drinking water. And so, am I missing any of them? Seems like there's one other that we did. But anyway, so we sometimes have our members, when they're experts on something, share their stories. But anyway, Dan and I guess will brainstorm and come up with something, and we will send it out to the water committee email list, and hopefully you'll join us and learn something and feel more confident in being an advocate for water.
Fantastic.
So that's what
Thank
we're
you so
here
much.
for. Thank you.
all.
I just want to
Yeah.
throw this in, even if you don't know the exact number of billions of gallons or whatever. The Hudbay mine is Toronto based. The
Yep.
one that's down in Patagonia, I think, is maybe an Australian.
I think it's
The
Australian and Canadian. There's two, but they're not American. They're all, none of them are from the U.S.
And the one that's going to destroy the Boundary Waters natural resource area in northern Minnesota is Chilean. That's a Chilean company that's coming in.
Yeah, all these mining companies
Unfortunately-
are not U.S.
Unfortunately, we have a law that's way back from pioneering time when people mined with picks, you know, and that, you know, that mineral extraction is the most important use of public lands. So that's why these companies can come in and take as much water as they want. And so we need to repeal the 1872 Mining Act?
Mining Act
So,
of 1872.
Did I
Still
get
in
it?
effect.
Federal law or state law?
That's a federal law.
Federal law.
Right.
Mm.
Right.
Yep.
But I think that's something that Grijalva always would present, you know, but there's a lot of pushback. When we went to the state legislature, I heard them talking like in the bathroom about laughing at the environmentalists and saying, you know, we love mining kind of thing. So
Yeah, we love money, and money comes from mining companies.
Yep. Exactly.
Yeah.
That's the problem we got.
anyway, it's great to see you all.
Thank you
Hopefully
again.
see you next month. I'll send you an email about that.
Look forward
Right.
to it. Thank you.
All right.
Have a good
Sorry
night.
I came in late. Thanks a lot.